Hi, so it's a gorgeous day, except for my BMW estate has got a bit of an issue. The rear suspension, air suspension, is not working. Both wheels are not elevating. In fact, when they have been elevated, they go down when you turn the ignition on. Bit of an issue, really annoying, because I know the bags, both sides have been changed in the last 10,000 miles, so I'm really don't think it's that. So it's going to be an issue with the compressor, which if I take to BMW, they're just going to say new compressor and charge me over £1,000. So I'm going to give a go at fixing it myself today. Having done a fair amount of research, we'll see how we get on. Symptoms are that when the bags were inflated, when turning the ignition on, they went down, and they just won't inflate anymore, even when you can hear the compressor. So if I trigger the compressor by sort of opening a door to get the suspension to try and rebalance itself, you can hear the compressor whirring away, but the wheels just don't, they just don't go up as they're supposed to. Right, so hopefully I'll document this well enough to help anyone else in the same situation, and I'm really hoping for a cheap and relatively simple solution, but I'll keep you updated. Okay, so we've got the car is now on axle stands, and that's achieved by jacking it up on the differential, which you'll be able to look at under there. Really important to place that properly. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. And then resting it down on axle stands. You can get low, you can see that. But at the jacking point, and that's that side, and similar thing on the other side. Just over there, you can see it. Okay, interesting point about this BMW is where the battery is. I'd only discovered that today. The battery is under here. Pretty mammoth battery, but that'll need disconnecting at some point. I'm not quite sure how that disconnects. It's got so many connections to it, but I've got to disconnect that at some point before I sort of uncouple any electric stuff. But for now, it can stay connected. Okay, great. Let's have a look under here. Where are we? So what you've got here, this is the cover where you'll find the compressor. Okay, just under there is the compressor. So I've got to take this sort of cover off first. There, that's got some grommets and nuts to get rid of. And then once that cover's taken off, we can take this cover off and reveal the compressor. Whilst I'm here, just have a look at the jack under there. You see I've left the jack touching the differential. Going to make sure it's on the differential, not the differential cover, which is made of a different material and can warp. I've just left it there because I'm going to need it again when I release it, but it's not bearing the load anymore. The load's being borne by the axle stands again over there, which are on the jacking points. Okay, I'm going to get on with removing the cover here. Right, so I've got those covers off. There's the first cover, just had sort of 2 bolts in there. There's the bolts there, you can see that came out. And then some sort of plastic grommet things in these holes, which look like that, those ones there. And you just, I just got them out with these little sort of plastic prong things here, which help take bodywork apart. And then the compressor case looks like that, and yeah, there was a bolt through there, a bolt through there, and then a bolt through that, and a bolt through that down there. But that was a really hard one to get out. Actually, it was that one that was really hard to get out because it was hidden behind other fairing. Anyway, you have to search hard for it. So underneath, go underneath now. I'll turn my light on. That's it. So this is the compressor. Yeah, so up this end you've got the distribution valve, and you've got the red and blue pipes that go to the left and the right airbags, air springs, should I say. And then this is that's the head of the compressor. That's where the air is compressed, and it comes out the back end here, released by a solenoid, comes out of this back end here, that thing there, and goes round to the distribution pipe. I can't see anything obvious like a cable out or anything like that, so I'm going to remove those 2 bolts there. Well, first of all, I'm going to remove these because they go obviously to the airbags. I'm going to remove those. I'm going to remove the electric cables, having disconnected the battery. I'm going to remove the electric cables which run to various parts of the electrical system, so I need to sort of get rid of those first, take those out, then I'll get rid of these, then I'll take these off, and then I'm going to release those 2 bolts there, and similarly at the other end you've got another 2 bolts there. You can see one of them there, yeah, you can see that. Get rid of those, and then the whole thing will basically just come out. Also I've got to get rid of this, take this hose off here, and that's the inlet hose for the air to come in from elsewhere in the vehicle. That's the hose, so I just need to disconnect the hose. So it's hose, electrical cables and distribution pipes that need to come off first, and then the big bolts that put it to the chassis of the car. Okay, that's what I'm going to do, and next up hopefully you'll see me with the whole compressor unit out of the car. So, successfully managed to get the compressor unit out, and there it is. It's upside down normally in the BMW, hanging from the ceiling as it were, but there it is. And this bit here is an electric motor which pushes a piston up into the head of the compressor bit, and this is where the air will get pushed and compressed into this chamber here through some air drying beads, and then the air will come out of here in this little black thing here, black hose, into the distribution unit, or the valve, the distribution valve, and this is where I've disconnected it. One of those goes to the right airbag and the other one goes to the left out airbag. I might have got it the wrong way around, but that's the unit. That is possibly one of the units that's, or the unit that's gone. It might be this that's faulty, I don't know. But as you can see, if it is faulty, it's a relatively easy thing to replace. The other thing that it might be is just around here. This bit here, there's the electric cable to it, but this is a release valve solenoid, and basically that when the car needs to release pressure from the suspension, when it's adjusting or you're changing the suspension mode, that will release any unwanted air in the system, which is obviously the opposite to this, which fills it. So I've seen a lot of other videos where water is ingressed into this, so what I'm going to do is take the head off here, take this apart, and take this unit apart and just see what we're left with, and see, and yeah, just begin to try and work out what it might be. I've also got a little electrical battery here, so I can sort of do a little bit of testing as I go along, just by connecting things to the right terminals. Okay, right, let's move on. So I've taken apart the compressor. Doesn't look like I have, but I have. This is the head, which comes off, and there's the air dryer unit. So there's the electric motor with the piston that goes up and down to compress the air. I've looked at the piston ring, and that looks absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. Likewise, the head that it sort of does the compression in, everything's airtight there, fits really, really tightly. No problems with that whatsoever. And the air dry unit, again, everything inside it was really, really dry. The desiccant, I can't remember how you pronounce it, beads, the things that dry the air, they looked really dry. The filter that filters the air and the holders, all of that was really dry inside here. So not any of the problems that other people have experienced with sort of saturated wet compressors. So that's all good. I checked the distribution valve here, which takes air from the compressor and distributes it to the 2 wheels, to the 2 air springs left and right of the vehicle. They seem to be working fine. I used a battery to test that. However, this solenoid here, this is the release valve, which goes just here on the body, and this will release pressure when it's needed, and it should, when it's not switched on, it should not release air. You'll see that you've got a top bit there and then air holes around the side, and there's a piston inside which blocks it so that the air from the top doesn't connect to the air on the sides. It's currently off because I've only connected it to one terminal, and so with my little straw here I'm going to blow down the top, and we shouldn't hear escaping air. But we do hear escaping air. And now when I connect it, it should try and sort of close, well, open and then close. You can see the electric contacts being made. And we should hear the piston go up and down. In fact, it just did then. So now it's off. That's it. Okay. So the piston has now engaged that time after multiple times of doing it. But what that's convinced me of is that this is the culprit, because there's a sticky valve sometimes once it's been opened, which it does when you first switch the car on. Very quickly it's supposed to switch open and then closed again, and because it's sticky, basically it hasn't been closing. It has just now closed, but it's intermittent, so sometimes it closes, sometimes it doesn't. I've been using it a lot today, so it's kind of opening and closing a little bit more than normal, but as you saw from my demonstration, it was closed when I tried to blow through it. So I'm pretty certain, from having looked at everything else, that this is the culprit, so I need to get a new release solenoid valve so that it doesn't stick. So I ordered a new part on eBay, an original Wabco solenoid release valve, and it came a couple of days later. Put it all back together, so I had a complete compressor, and put it back into place in the BMW. And here it is after that had been done, and I'd released it off the jack stands. And you can hear it begin to inflate. If you look a little bit closer, you can probably see it inflating slowly. It stopped at that point, but after a drive it had inflated even more, and until it looked as you'd expect it should look, just like that. So there it is, fixed. I've been driving around now for the last couple of days in this, and it's been solid as a rock, and just adjusting as it needs to. Normal operation, everything's absolutely perfect basically, so no need for air spring removal, no need for a complete compressor replace, just a simple component, the solenoid valve, release valve. That's all it was, a sticky one of those. That cost me 25 quid. So hopefully that will save some of you some money as well, and hopefully it's been informative. All right, take care.